All right, so we're going to quick take a venture outside here. We're going to quick take a look at a pond, which is kind of like a runoff drainage pond. You see the drainage right down here. Where do you think that's coming from, and what do you think is going into this pond? All right, class, now that we are back in, find your seats. And here's what I want you to start doing. Start thinking about what that pond looked like. Start thinking about what was in that pond, if it was good things or if it was bad things. Think about that word pollution that we've been talking about for the past few days. So I'm going to give you a couple minutes of wait time here to talk with your partner, to discuss things about that pond. First question I want you to discuss with your partner with is how all that stuff got in there. So again, I'm going to give you a couple minutes of wait time. Talk with your partner and discuss the how that stuff got in there. All right, now that you guys had a couple minutes to talk about it, I got my first group up. They're going to talk about maybe how it came on up. So I'm going to front row right here. How did it come up?
It came up animals and...
Yeah, animals could have. So that's right. Animals could have brought some sticks in there, some birds, squirrels falling out of the nest. Probably squirrels running up in trees, right? Yeah, absolutely. Birds make a nest in there too. How else do you think it happened? Let's think about the garbage we saw in there. I saw some plastic items. I saw some wrappers. Who do you... Humans, people, right? People, humans, absolutely. So we know kind of how and the who, when. Now, when do you think that happened? We looked at that pond. There was big trees all around it. So we know it wasn't a brand new pond. We saw algae on there, which algae is great thing. So we're going to learn more about that in our next unit. But when do you think it happened? Because I don't think it was all in one day. So again, discuss with your partner. Think about when, and maybe it's a time frame. Maybe you come up with 1 week. Maybe you come up with years. Maybe you come up with probably 3 days or whatever. So think about a timeline and when those things came into that pond. So again, we're going to do a couple minutes wait time, and then we'll join back. All right, class. Discussions. I love the critical thinking that you guys all have been hearing. I've been walking around the rooms. I've been hearing a lot of creative timelines too, back to dinosaurs and all that, but I'm not sure if that pond was back then. So again, I'm going to call on this group right on over here. How long do you think it's been?
Years.
Years. 1 year, 2 years? A lot of years. Absolutely. There's stuff on the bottom. Absolutely. So we discussed the how, the birds dropping it off, humans and all that. And we discussed the when, that time frame of years. And then now we've kind of already answered the who. We think plants or birds and all that. Absolutely. It took years and it took a lot of time for that stuff to come on in. And so some of that water was, what do we call that when stuff that doesn't belong in the nature, the natural environment, comes in and starts taking over? What do we call that? I'm going to give you a little bit of think time, some wait time here. Give somebody else a chance to answer here. Go ahead.
Garbage.
Garbage? Yeah, we call that garbage. But what is our big science word for that? Again, some wait time. All right, so we had garbage. And what's our big science word for garbage in places?
Pollution.
Pollution. In this case, we got the water, so we obviously are talking water pollution. What are the other two types of pollution? Again, some wait time. All right. All right, go ahead and name the three types of pollution.
Air, water, and soil.
Air, water, and soil. You got it. And so pollution can come with up in the air. What kind of pollution is in the air? Think about it.
Smoke.
Yeah, smoke. It could be smoke from a building. It could be smoke from people smoking cigarettes, which we know is so bad for our health, and that's which we remember 2 units ago, our respiratory system, all that gunk getting stuck in our lungs from that kind of stuff, and that's actually in the air, so that's air pollution. We've got water pollution, which we're going to be covering right here in a little bit, but we also have soil. And soil or ground pollution can be garbage. It can be chemicals infecting that. And you'll kind of see that in this here a little bit. I know you guys, every one of you that walked in was all eyes on this. And this is going to be next up. So we got our water pollution. So over time, we have erosion, which erosion is what again? What is erosion? Who do we have? Go ahead. Process of something wearing down. It could be the wind wearing down some rocks. It could be rocks coming down a cliff and just wearing down that mountain. It could be glaciers, which we've learned carved the Minnesota lakes in the Great Lakes, how glaciers came in and eroded the land. And so erosion also comes with another word, and this is a brand new word that we're going to be learning today, and it's called sediment. The word is sediment. Say it with me. Sediment. Sediment. It's like I said I had a mint. Sediment. Sediment. So what I'm going to have you do is I'm going to have you think for a little bit. You can think with your partner. You can think by yourself of what sediment might mean, what sediment is. All right, I heard a lot of great discussions and conversation what sediment might be. And no, it's not a mint at all. Sediment is actually spelled Sediment. Sediment. I meant to tell you it wasn't a mint. But over here I heard a great answer. It kind of rocks and dirt and like ground, right? Could be minerals, absolutely. So what sediment is, sediment are the things that kind of settles down on the bottom. And that's what we're going to be going on here first. I had some rocks. I just grabbed some rocks out of my garden. I have some rocks there. This is all stuff on the bottom here. We're going to kind of go like this. Grab some sand that was in here. So most of the time sediment, what we think of is sediment with water. But erosion, when erosion happens, when water comes through, it's going to push some of this stuff out. And these things are going to settle in different places due to the way the water is flowing. And so erosion, again, is the process of wearing something down. And so when I pour water in here, it's going to wear it down. But we've been talking about pollution and water pollution. So I'm going to grab a handful of rice, which in this case, we're just going to call littering. Maybe somebody just threw a bunch of gum wrappers out. Here's your guys' last week tests that I corrected and did not pass out because they were. I'm just kidding. These aren't new tests. These are just scrap paper I had. And here's part of the bottle stuff. Little plastic things. This could be like water bottles people throwing out the window. I'm going to grab a little bit of grass here too. I should probably mow my lawn. Who is my lawnmower here? Oh, nobody's going to come over and mow. I'm going to grab some sticks that's going to go. And this stuff here that I'm grabbing, the leaves and all that, is this natural pollution or is this unnatural? It is the natural because it's from the earth. It's from the ground. This stuff just happens to be in rivers. It was in that pond we just went through. I'm going to grab a couple other things here, and these, it's going to be kind of our chemical pollution. And what they are, they're just red and green sprinkles. I'm going to throw a little bit in there. So, we have everything here. This is our land. But with erosion, when water comes in, it's going to erode and shape that area. So I'm going to go into my handy dandy cupboard here. I got a quarter measuring cup. And we're going to highlight some math things because I know you guys are working on fractions. I have a quarter of a cup. How many quarter cups do I need for one full cup? I'm going to let you think about it. And everybody, the answer is 4. You bet. 4. So I'm going to just do 1/4 cup. Maybe this is a lawn, and that's by a busy street, and they ran the sprinkler. So I got 1/4 cup, 1/4 of a cup. Now I got 2. So how many is that? That is a 1/2. You got it. 1/2, 2/4, but we reduced and made it. So now I got the 3/4, and now I have a full cup. Let's pause here before this thing gets going. So let's take a look. You can see that those the sprinkles in there has changed the color of the water. Kind of a chemical reaction going on there. And you notice, I'm going to have a couple of you guys come on up front, take a look, and you can tell the class what's going on. You see the lighter things. You see the lighter things. What's on top?
Sticks of leaves and a little bit of sprinkles.
Nice and long for everybody here.
Sticks, leaves, and a little bit of paper.
A little bit of paper. Looks like we got this clear plastic thing. Do you think that could be a big problem? We got a little clear plastic thing floating on top. Do you think that'd be a huge problem?
Yes.
I agree. You can't really see it right on top. It didn't settle. What do you think is going to happen, class, when I open this cap and I pour more water in? What do you think is going to happen? We're making an educated guess here, kind of a hypothesis of what's going to happen. What do you think is going to be happening? Let's pause and think. What's going to happen? Yeah, stuff's going to just kind of go, and we're going to drain this out. And so I'm going to pause here, and before we get in there, that pond had that culvert thing, right? You saw that big metal thing in there where all that runoff water, it came from streets, it came from this stuff running up people's yards. Cars, absolutely. So this is going to be like our culvert, and it's going to start spewing out stuff into our new pond. So let's start pouring water, nice and careful. Oh yeah, I remember I cut this a little short. So we got stuff coming out right away. What do we see here, Cam, coming out in the bottom? Chemicals. I see a stick. See more of those sprinkles. Leaf kind of came out. Now, let's say we had a big heavy rain, and maybe we're on a slope now. That stuff is going to really shoot out, and it's going to just create a mess. Now, things erode over time, the process of it changing, and now everything that was on top is now, floating on top is now settled to the bottom. That stuff is just settled on in. We got that rice that's settled on the bottom. Sprinkles have settled on the bottom. Now, the more I pour this out, I get some rocks that drop out and all that. So over time, when things erode, it's going to get gross. It's going to get grimy, especially if we're not paying attention to what we are doing. The biggest important thing here I want you guys to remember is what we do, what we throw outside. We might think just, oh, it's just one gum wrapper. It's just one gum wrapper. I'm going to throw it out the window. That one gum wrapper could sit in this pond for a long time, or it could sit in the culvert and just get gross, or it could end up going on out and coming out here. So, what's this mean for you? What does this whole process mean for you? What we're going to do, you can have a seat if you want right there. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to have you guys create your own ponds and sediment erosion things. So, each one of you has a 2-liter bottle. And what you're going to do is you're going to be working with your partners. You're going to come up and grab just a little bit of what you would like. You don't have to grab everything here. What we have is we have our natural kind of pollutants. We have our sticks and leaves and all that. We have grass, we have rocks, we have sand, we have our unnatural pollution with the rice. And that rice stuff could just symbolize any pollution item that you can think of. Maybe it's a simple thing like a gum wrapper, or maybe it is, how am I drawing a blank on this? Maybe it's gum. Absolutely, things that people just kind of throw out, not thinking anything of it. Maybe it's your paper. I don't need this. I'm going to throw it out. I also want you to think while you're doing this, this is just stuff we have here. Think about those landfills that are piled high. And when rain comes, things are going to push things down, and it's going to settle on the bottom, and we call that sediment, and how it's going to go. So we got the rice, we got the sprinkles for the chemicals. We have coffee grounds, thanks to Mr. Radke's coffee collection. We have all sorts of stuff, but what you're going to do is you're going to have to write things down of what you have in there and what is going to happen in there. And then we're going to come back. I'm going to show one more thing, and we're all going to kind of make educated guesses on what it might be and how it might look. All right, class, I love how hard you guys are all working. I'm going to have Cam up here working with me while you guys are working. If you guys have questions, you can come up here and ask us, but we're going to be doing this here together. Again, I love how hard you guys are working. I love the ideas of the things that you've called your rice, your sprinkles, and all that. Make sure you are writing that down, because I am going to be kind of going over to make sure you've understood that. Again, this is not your test on what erosion and sediment is, but it also gives me a great understanding of how well you're learning. And if you're understanding this, and if you don't, come and find us. We'd love to talk to you more about this. So, Cam, let's get going. What are we going to be putting in?
Some sand.
Absolutely. I'll bring it on over close for us. Everybody has some sand? Perfect.
Some rocks.
Some rocks.
And a little bit of...
You want some more rocks in there?
Sure, yeah.
We have plenty of sand and rocks here. We got stations throughout the room here if you need more sand and rocks. There we go. Cam, now this stuff here, for our sediment, what do you think is going to stay the longest through this time? Do you think rocks are going to end up coming out here before the sand, or do you think the sand's going to come out first? You think the rocks?
No, sand.
The sand? Why do you think the sand?
Because it's lighter.
You bet. When things are lighter, they're going to erode quicker, right? All right, next up, what do we got?
Some sprinkles.
Yeah. Now, these sprinkles that you're putting in, what kind of chemicals do you think, what are you going to call these kind of chemicals?
Pollution.
Pollution, yeah, absolutely. Those kind of chemicals, they could be fertilizer, right?
Yeah.
People fertilizing their lawns, or maybe it's people just dumping out waste and oil. What else would you like in there?
Some leaves.
Yeah. Sticks, leaves. I'm going to help you throw some in.
Sure.
I'm going to crumple some of these up, because let's say maybe somebody went through and mulched it. And mulching is like basically crumpling it on up, and maybe these have been weathered quite a bit. Yeah. So is this natural pollution, or is this non-natural?
Natural.
Natural, you bet. Are you wanting some sticks?
Sure.
Yeah, break them up. You mowing lawns or no?
Yeah.
Yeah? All right, let's mow some lawns. Get some of that grass in there. So between the sticks and the grass, what do you think would come out first, the sticks or the grass?
The grass.
Absolutely. I would think the grass too because it is
Lighter.
lighter. And when softer or lighter things, erosion is going to happen more often with those, correct? You know what? Being you and I are partners, I'm going to throw some coffee grounds in. This is going to be maybe some, like an oil spill. Like somebody's changing oil in their car in their driveway and they spill a bunch of stuff. Goes in the sewers. Do you think that's going to change the color of the water?
Yeah.
I think so too. I don't think it's going to be as black as my coffee, but I think it's going to change it, and it might make it darker than this, and maybe we'll switch that out.
Maybe a little bit of rice too.
Oh yeah, we didn't get any rice. Now, what kind of pollution do you think this rice could be?
More chemicals?
More chemicals, yeah. They could even be some solid waste. It could be maybe somebody put their maybe somebody put their garbage out and they didn't have the bag fully shut, so they got just garbage coming on out. Bags. It could be food. It could just be whatever. I'm gonna throw some plastic just because plastic is so dangerous to our earth and so dangerous to the earth, the animals, absolutely. And let's shred up some of your homework here, huh? That is your worksheet that you're going to have to do all over again. Yep. Yeah, there we go. All right. Now, class, if you're still watching with us here, I'm actually going to bring you guys all back here and take a look here at what we got going on. So, again, you guys have been talking throughout, and we've been talking throughout. We think the heavier stuff is going to stay on the bottom. It's going to be our sediment on the bottom. But the lighter stuff is going to be the sediment on the bottom here of this pond. Let's drain this out here in our science sink. Here we go. All right. So, Cam, I'll let you do the pouring. I'll do the drinking of coffee. You don't have to measure. Just give it a good rain. Give it a good rain. We already got it changing color, don't we?
Yeah.
I think
Like cherry kind of red.
a cherry kind of red compared to a pink lemonade, right?
Yeah.
All right.
Cherry.
What do we got going on in there? Talk us through this, Cam.
The pink lemonade is turning, the science stuff is turning into more red because of the ground beans.
The coffee grounds? Absolutely. Now, those coffee grounds, those could be just garbage things that has been in, maybe you swept up the floor in your kitchen, you go to just throw it outside, but that stuff on your kitchen floor is dirt and garbage that shouldn't be going into ponds and shouldn't be the sediment of a pond. Let's pour this out here a little bit faster. We got a huge rainfall going on. Now, we got a leaf that's stuck here. I'm going to just pull that out. Oh no. Oh, do you see how that leaf, it was holding up everything else here. It had the plastic things. It had the paper just stuck on the leaf. So the natural pollution, the natural resources just kind of went with that. And now let's just say our drainage has stopped. There's no other place to drain. Let's take a look at everything that's now settled on the bottom here. And we call that stuff that's settled on the bottom. What was that one word we called our new word today? Sediment. Yeah, sediment. So our sediment now has settled all on the bottom here. Now, I'm going to lift this up. I'm not going to pour it on your head.
Good.
Good. Awesome. What's that look like underneath there?
Dirt, nasty sand,
Absolutely.
nasty trees.
Now, is this going to be a pond or a lake you're going to want to swim in?
No.
Is this going to be a place where you want to drink water from? Now, if you don't want to be doing that, think about all the animals that are going to be coming through here looking for just a place to wash off, a bath spot, or maybe a freshwater spot to get something to drink. And they're having to fight through plastic and chemical stuff. Trees isn't like too bad, but like it's getting caught up in those things, maybe they're going to grab a stick for their nest, but they're going to grab a stick and it's going to end up having that plastic, or it's going to have some chemicals on it, and that could cause some serious problems for them. Absolutely. All right, class, I'm going to pause you. I'm going to show you one other thing that can be harmful with sediment and erosion. All right, class. I'm gonna leave this up here just so you can keep seeing this here. I have a brand new one set up. What's different about this one compared to this one? Yeah, I'm filling it from top. I'm not filling it from the side and having it poured out the side. So this is kind of more like a lake that we'd have. I gotta pause and get some water. All right, so we're gonna fill up my lake here. This lake's for swimming because it's got rocks and sand. That's a great lake for swimming. Now, animals will like it. Looks like I've got a floating log in there. So everything that's on the bottom here has settled. And we call those things on the bottom something that our new word today is what, everybody, right now?
Sediment.
Sediment, you bet. So sediment, everything's settled here on the bottom. I'm going to start adding things for it to settle, and now I'm going to drain this lake. And we're going to see what ends up happening here. So we're out on a boat. You know what? I got a water bottle. I don't really care. I'm going to toss it out there just because I can, and I'm bigger than all the animals that are on that lake. Not the best way of thinking. I'm also out on the lake, and you know what? I don't really want any more of my food. I'm just going to kind of toss it out. I didn't really like it. So, oof, our lake's getting gross. So now, over time, things are just going to settle. You can see the water just kind of change a little bit of color here by that stuff. And some of that stuff came all the way down to the bottom and rested there. And again, when things settle down, we call that stuff, our new word today,
Sediment.
Sediment, absolutely. So now I got all that stuff, except for here's the next thing. We had a big storm over the weekend. I'm on my way back up to the lake, and I got just all sorts of sticks and branches. I'm going to use some of this stuff just because it's easier to grab. I got that stuff there. But over time, people have been mowing their yards, adding dirt to the shore, adding stuff that they maybe shouldn't be adding. And I got that. Now, over time, when heat comes, things start to evaporate. And we've been learning a little bit about evaporation. But I'm going to kind of start draining this lake. And we're going to see what kind of comes out. Now, it's not going to come out like our other one because I had the rocks on the bottom. And that the rocks are going to kind of act as a filter for us. Because just like we said, the settlement, the things, oh my gosh, those rocks just bursted through. So let's say that lake just dried up. What we're left with is sticks and plastic and garbage. Now, if that's what our earth is going to come to, sticks and garbage, that's not a place I want to live. So our next sheet here, I'm going to be passing out a sheet as we go of 2 things that you can do to prevent bad sediment from settling in lakes, or bad sediment from going into ponds, or just bad sediment in your yards, because things are going to settle down over time. So again, we're going to pass out a sheet. It's going to have those 2 things. 2 things that you can do to be proactive to take care of our one earth that we have. And then I'm going to have a couple questions on erosion, on sediment, our new word, sediment. And it's, again, those things, heavier things are going to settle on the bottom first, and then the lighter things. And then when erosion comes, the lighter things are going to come off first, and then the big heavy stuff.